I believe when I read the checklist item, nose centered, the captain either didn't verify it or he had confirmation bias by not looking at it closely enough.
Some of you might be asking, well, how could this happen? Well, since I was the FO, the co-pilot, in the right seat, I was reading the checklists, the before landing checklists. And when I read tiller centered, I wasn't looking at the tiller to see if it was centered. I was just going down the checklist. It was the captain's job to look at the tiller and verify that the white tick mark was in fact centered, and it sure wasn't.
The green line above shows everything proceeding normally until after the nose gear touched down. The moment the nose gear touched down, the airplane started veering to the right. Since the captain was making the landing, I was waiting to see corrective action, but it wasn't occurring. I immediately placed my left foot on the bottom of the left pedal to push it forward, but it had already been pushed in the whole way by the captain. My next immediate thought was no steering, tiller, 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 but I was not in the left seat. I was in the right seat. I was not in a position to intervene. We vacated the runway on the right side. We went through the first intersection at very high speed. It was a miracle that small general aviation aircraft were not there. The thick dashed lines in the picture above depict the relative position of the airplane, skipping sideways for some time before eventually righting itself with the captain's intervention. We took out multiple signs on both intersections before eventually stopping on a taxiway.
Someone might ask, what's the first thought that goes through a pilot's mind when they're having a runway excursion in a jet at such high speed? Well, for me, it was a combination of shock and denial.
The Hawker is built like a Jeep Willys. The gear did not collapse, but the aircraft did suffer extensive damage to other items as well. The tires and wheels from sliding sideways. The leading edges of both wings, some severe enough that we actually had a small fuel leak. Innumerable dings under the wings as well as the engine inlets. The pilot thought that the loss of control was the result of the nose wheel steering system not being aligned correctly. I agree with the captain there. It definitely was not. It then goes on to point that the left side nose wheel tire was not adequately inflated and was worn to the point at which the cord was exposed. That was because of sliding sideways. And it also noted that 1/3 of the rim was absent on the left side outer wheel half. That was also because of sliding sideways and hitting all those rocks. If having a runway excursion wasn't dangerous enough, here's what made it even worse. The lift dump, the main tool to decelerate the aircraft, had never been deployed by the captain. The distraction from the directional control issue was severe enough that it hadn't been. Another item that I had brought up earlier, but that is worth mentioning again, is confirmation bias. I think this is what the captain had when he checked the steering tiller and why we crashed. Confirmation bias is when your own preconceived bias takes over, instead of actually registering what the position of something is in. Touching items solves this problem by having you slow down and verify the actual position of items in the aircraft. One of the problems I've encountered with new jet pilots, and I did it myself when I was a new jet pilot, was moving too quickly when checking items. Here's a different crew who, after running their landing checklist, they discovered that their nose gear was not straight, that the white tick mark was not at the 12 o'clock position. They ran through their checklists and they landed gear up. Here's what the 2-page accident report form looks like that both the captain and I had to fill out. Here's a Hawker 400 landing gear up in Las Vegas for a different reason. They had lost all hydraulic fluid. They couldn't even lower the gear manually. However, the beryllium keel worked effectively in protecting the aircraft, protecting the passengers and the crew. After 27 months, the NTSB came out with a report on this accident that I was in, and the probable cause and findings were as follows. The pilot's inability to maintain directional control during landing for undetermined reasons, which resulted in a runway excursion. Here I am landing a Hawker jet in Van Nuys. Something that a lot of people may not know is if you are involved in an aircraft accident and the NTSB cannot determine the cause, the accident does not go on your record. It is not on my record or the captain's record.